everybody, and welcome to another episode of Moving into the Future. Today, I am joined by Ed Melton, Vice President at Chipman Relocation and Logistics, based out of Sacramento, California. Ed, how are you today?
Excellent, Jack. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. So for our listeners, Ed and I met last year at an OMA conference in Clearwater, Florida. And, we got to talking, hit it off, much like we do with a lot of other partners at these OMA conferences. And, Ed spent his career in the moving industry. He's got a wealth of knowledge. But one of the things we discussed was partnership selling and the idea that we leverage each other's skills and resources and understandings in order to better service our clients and find the best solutions for them. So Ed, do you want to expand on that and kind of tell us how you're trying or working to implement partnership selling into your repertoire?
Yeah, sure. It was great to meet you there in Clearwater and meet so many young professionals like yourself that are up and coming stars in our industry. Our industry is in good shape with gentlemen like yourself. But so I kicked off 2024 in the fall of 2023 with saying that 2024 would be the year of the partnership. And I speak to that at every one of my sales meetings. We meet frequently, and I train my salespeople to think about what it means to be doing partnership selling. Now, some of the obvious partnership selling is OMA. OMA is a perfect example of partnership selling because you can now sell your services in every market in the U.S. and across the world using verified, vetted partners that you can count on. So I would call that a service partnership. You've got an existing client and you need help in New York. I call Jack. Jack helps me out. So that's a great way to expand your business and improve. But there's other partnerships too that I've been exploring and examining as a 35-year veteran. Trying to reinvent myself into what does that really mean? And so I'll give a perfect example is partnerships where you can expand your business or find other people to sell your product, or help other people expand their business. A perfect example of that would be we're working with a small 3PL here in Rio Linda, California, just outside of Sacramento. And he's got a small 3PL, 3 or 4 trucks. He's a hauler, basically, but he used to have a warehouse. And he said, Ed, I really want to be in the warehousing business. And I said, Ola, you are now in the warehouse business because we're partners. You can sell into my warehouses. You can now make this offering to your clients because he's getting calls for warehousing opportunities all the time, but he doesn't have a warehouse. And so that's an example of how we can co-brand and work with others in partnerships. And so those are just a couple examples, but using your network, using your ecosystem across the country to help people and connect the dots with the mindset of giver's gain. I want to help others. I want to connect the dots and get people working together, and that's going to that's the partnerships that I'm trying to explore here in Sacramento.
Absolutely. And what that does for yourself too, it makes yourself exponentially more valuable to your clients when you're understanding the resources that you have within your network and leveraging them accordingly. And one of the things you mentioned about OMA that I think is so important is the local understanding that we have through our partners. So you give New York as an example with us located here. Obviously managing a move in New York is a lot different than even Sacramento. And even though they're metropolitan areas, the dynamics of moving in New York and some of the just fine details that go into it are different. But when I speak to a client and I talk about having a move in Sacramento or anywhere else around the country or world, I always mention to them that our local partners there have a local understanding of these markets and how we're going to best, perform these jobs and price these jobs and execute these jobs comes with a local understanding of how we're going to get those done. A good example of that in New York is, and I don't know if they have these in Sacramento, but we have dual elevators here in New York, especially in some of the older buildings downtown. So essentially what happens is you'll have a freight elevator that you'll take down to the basement and then have to push all the furniture over to another freight elevator that goes up to the floors within the building. And you would not know this if you weren't here doing in the buildings physically or performing the moves. So when we're able to help our OMA partners understand this and explain to them this is why it costs this much and it takes this much time, it provides an exponential level of value and expertise that they can then relay to their client. And then on top of that, for the second aspect of that, which you talk about in terms of leveraging and allowing people within your network to sell for you, that's something I've been doing and been trying to implement as much as I can, because as a mover and furniture installator and doing that type of work, that's only one piece to the puzzle. But when I work with somebody who does construction or design, or these people, and what I always tell them is I am going to help them sell their product better by using me, because I'm an extension of them. I represent them, and I'm going to do my best to represent them, throughout their design, build, or whatever it may be, so that the job goes smoothly.
Yeah, that's a great point. We are what our customers are calling us for is we're a resource. And once they get to know you, once they get to understand that, movers are, what we do in our industry and the things that we connect with over time is really quite incredible. When, to give you a perfect example, when I travel with some of my top commercial sales people, I'm just amazed by the fact that their phone is ringing constantly. Call after call after call after call. And these calls are just clients saying, hey, Jack, I need X, I need to figure out how to get this sign off my building. Can you help me? Hey, Jack, I need to figure out how to get these wires pulled out of the ceiling. My landlord said I have to do this. What do I do? So there's just all this stuff that they're calling you for that maybe isn't related to what your core services are, but they know that you have contacts. They know that Jack can figure it out. Jack knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy. And that resource makes the phone ring, and the best of the best, their phone rings all day long for those requests. And you're connecting to that. You got this ecosystem that that I don't know for sure, but I'll figure it out. I'll get back to you, and reliably you get back to that client and figure out their problem, and you solve that problem for them.
Absolutely. And sorry, I don't mean to cut you off there, but again, we've talked about this at our OMA conferences, being that consultant, the workplace or commercial consultant, where you do want to be that one conduit and that one line that all of your clients come to for whatever variety of services they need. And that's, again, the benefit of the OMA network, the AMP partnerships that we have within that, and then the local connections that we make, in our different markets. It's incredibly valuable. And what I've learned over the years too, and again, this is why I enjoy talking to someone like you who's been doing it for 35 years. I understand my position as a younger person. I'm getting older now, but younger person. I've been doing it about 10 years. I know what I know, and I talk confidently to what I know. But then there's things that I don't know, and that's when I rely on people like you who've seen more and done it longer and understand it better, and then people who do other things, whether it's construction or IT, AV services, those level of things. I can speak adequately to it, but I never get in over my head with that stuff because I don't want to look like an idiot. And that's when I ask those around me, and it works out well. And if we can get in the room with the right people and say, listen, here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to be doing this, they're going to be doing that, and we're going to do it together in order to guarantee success.
One of the one of the things that I came away with at the OMA conference was I said, you know, what I really want to do is set a Google meeting. We use Google Meet for our virtual meetings with OMA partners once a month. Just pick an OMA partner and get on a Google meeting and have my sales team there. And I I coach my sales team to say, look, we're here to listen. We're not here to pitch. We're not here to pitch Chipman. We're here to listen to what they have. And it's incredible, even we being in this business 35 years, that's what you learn, what other agents are doing, what other partners are doing. We're getting into this, we're getting into this, we're getting into that. We're having great success doing, fill in the blank. And we learn something on every one of those calls. But more importantly is that OMA's been incredible for Chipman. We've been really fortunate to get a fair amount of business from this, but we're not booking enough into the system. So we're trying, our effort right now is to try to figure out how to book more into OMA. And the way you do that is you learn what the specialties are and what you're doing. And my salespeople are learning more about these partners, and they're able to bring that information to their clients. And so it's been a really good thing. I think I've had maybe 10 Google meetings with OMA partners since the conference. So it's been really good.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the things I always, try to tell people, because they ask me often, how do I get my salespeople to sell more national? And, I tell them that it has to be deliberate. Like it has to be, there's almost a change of mindset where we're in the moving business, it's a transactional business, right? So, you survey a move, you book the move, you perform the move, you build the move, that move's over, on to the next move. When you're looking to sell more national, your mindset needs to go to the idea that every move isn't a move, every move is an account. And it has the potential to be a bigger account over time as you learn how to further service the account. So again, it could be a local account that starts with a move, but then you start talking and then they ask you, we need IT, we need construction, we need this, painting, whatever, facilities. And that's when the partnership selling comes into place and you bring the right people in. But then at the national level, I always try to tell people that you should, especially if it's a good relationship that you have with somebody, maybe you've done 1 or 2 local moves for them already, you look into their company and you see if they're located anywhere else and, can build on that from there and say, hey, listen, we do great work for you here in Sacramento. We see you have offices in Texas and Florida and New York and elsewhere. Would we be able to do that work too? And, there's big opportunity, I think, in that. But I think the biggest thing is from a sales perspective, you're not looking at just booking that one move. You're looking to build that account. And if you can begin to shift that mentality, it offers a lot more potential in what you can do with an account. How many salespeople do you have?
That report directly to me, I have 4 commercial sales reps and 3 residential.
Nice. That's great. Yeah. Sacramento. And 2, so just a little bit about your career. So you started in Michigan and were, working there, and you started working and moving in college, huh?
Yeah, I worked my way through college on the trucks with Corrigan, great organization in Michigan, and started in Auburn Hills, Agent 511, right by the old Pontiac Silverdome, which doesn't exist anymore. And
I remember that, though. I remember when they blew it up, actually.
Yeah, it took a couple tries, but
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was on the trucks, driving truck, doing locals, driving 45-foot trailers and single axle tractors. And stayed in the industry throughout college and after college. Got into sales and did some other things. But Dave Corrigan was really gave me the opportunity really to get into sales, and then gave me my first branch, which I had no business running at the time. But he had some confidence in me, so I always appreciate Dave for doing that. And had a chance to work with Maury Stevens at Stevens Worldwide Van Lines for about 10 years, and made my way out here to work with the great Chipman family, and I've been here about 10 years. And we've got a great thing going out here. Great young leadership. Justin Chipman's running the show now, and doing a great job growing this organization. And so, yeah, I've done a lot of things. Been fortunate to work with some really great leaders through the years.
Yeah, and you know what? That's an interesting thing you say, because I do find that the moving industry does produce a lot of great leaders, and not just within the OMA network. There are a significant amount within the OMA network, but even outside, the people I've met in this industry who have built up these very impressive moving companies and services are really good leaders. But I wanted to ask you too, because again, a ton of people do moving as a job in college, especially young men. It's a hard job, but it's, good work, good money. After you were done with college, what made you want to stay in the business? What was it that you saw that you thought, was it just simply like it was a job at the time? Or did you think, I know what I'm doing with this, there's a chance to make money? Or what was it that exactly led you to stay in the business? And then when you were running your first branch, before you probably thought you were fit to do so, what was that like too?
I think you just you're into life, you're making money, you're doing well, and you just keep doing it. And then you get married, and you start having kids, and before you know it, I have 4 daughters, and before you know it, you're just into life, and time goes by really fast, as everybody knows. Looking back at that first branch, knowing what I know now, I don't know how I even survived. But we had some, good mentors that taught me, what to do and how to run a branch and how to understand the finance behind it. And that was really exciting times, because we were in a small town. We're in Midland, Michigan. It was a branch that the Cording had purchased. They bought a company called Midland Moving and Storage from the Papson family. And a lot of people out there know the Papson family, Denny Papson and his group. And so it was a well-established company. So it was running well when I got there. So that certainly helps.
That definitely does. And then
I was a regional guy for many years. Between that and this job, on the road running, doing regional work, and then I settled back here in Sacramento at a branch again. So that's many years later. So.
And one of the things I've always admired about Chipman is, first of all, their footprint across the West Coast is very impressive with the markets that they're in and how they've been able to grow and expand. And that's one of the things in the OMA network I've always admired well about some of the different companies, is how they've managed to, largely through commercial work. It's one thing when it's like a residential company that does it, but when you're able to be a commercial mover, or at least predominantly commercial mover, and expand and grow and strategically position yourself in different markets, I've always really been interested in that and fascinated by it to a sense. And Chipman has done a very impressive job at that along the West Coast. So when you were making that transition and taking over Sacramento, what was that transition like for you? Because that's a huge move, to do that and build it up there. So what was that experience like, and how's it been for the last 10 years in seeing Sacramento grow?
It was, I took over for Jim Wyatt, who ran a very successful branch here in Sacramento. So once again, I was able to inherit an incredible team. We have several people here on the staff that have been with Chipman 20 plus years. From billing to customer service to operations. So you got a real strong foundation, so from my perspective as a selling GM, my job is to grow the thing. And so I got a strong base, I got a strong team all around me, so I can focus on business development, focus on working with my sales team and growing that side of it. And that gives you the advantage to do that when you're not worried about your billing team or your collections or all these other things going on around you. All that's taken care of. But again, it's a good foundation here. Justin has a good vision. Brought in a guy by the name of Jake Marino a couple years ago. And Jake is running all the branches. He's got a strong background in the industry, great thought leader. And so he's got a great a really good executive team that's leading this thing into the future. But, it doesn't always happen that way, third generation. A lot of companies have a hard time making that leap to the next generation. And, Jim is doing just fine in this transition.
Yeah, that's great. And again, it's largely getting the right people in the right positions. That's what I've learned too about growing and scaling a company. It's largely getting the right people there. So the fact that you walked into that definitely makes your job a lot easier in that sense. How is because again, the only thing I know about Sacramento is really the Kings. So
Yeah, well, the Kings are doing really well.
they are. So Kevin Herter, he grew up in the town, a couple towns away from me, in upstate
Oh,
New
no
York.
kidding.
Yeah, he's a lot younger than me. I think actually I played against him. But he was, 5-6 years younger than me. But he's a player. So I root for the Kings because of him. But they're a good team. And I know you're a big Detroit sports fan too, right?
Well, everything Detroit. I mean, I'm still following my teams. I'm a big Tiger fan. A huge Lions fan.
The
I was
Lions
at the end of
are right
yeah.
there.
I was
you
at the
wanna-
NFC Championship game, and I was, my wife and I had tears in our eyes watching that game slip away from us. We were so close, 24-7 at half, and we're going to the Super Bowl for the first time ever. But as a Lions fan, you know that it's never over till it's over. But but Sacramento is we're getting the Oakland A's for a couple of years.
Right, that's right.
And there's a lot of talk in this town about trying to keep the A's here and having a fan base that could support the for the Oakland A's. We'll see where that goes, But they're going to be playing in the River Cats small stadium, and they're going to pack that thing every night. And the Tigers will be here next summer, and right here in Sacramento, so it's going to be a lot of fun. But Sacramento's. People don't know this about Sacramento, but it's one of the fastest growing city in California.
Right, I did know that. Yeah,
it's growing fast. There's a lot going on in the riverfront. There's talk of a pro soccer team coming here. There's, of course, the A's coming. Kaiser is building a $1 billion facility here, starting it soon. We've got a great economic development people running the show, and I think we're going to have a heck of a run. Hospitality is really behind, so we got to build a lot of hotels. We got a new convention center, so we're going to see a lot of hospitality growth here in the next several years. So we're going to have a good run here. A little bit sluggish in the first quarter of this year, like a lot of people have experienced, but I'm optimistic about the future. And I'm optimistic about what we can do right here in Sacramento. I think we can have a $15-20 million branch right here in Sacramento, believe it or not, over time.
Yeah, and it's interesting how you talk that way too. And again, that's one of the things I've learned, in my time here. In commercial moving, there's a lot of different ways for us to service the communities that we live in, and whether it is hospitality or obviously the office commercial moving. But even supplies and warehousing for that's necessary for construction, and all of those different things. Trucks and warehouse space go a long way when you're building out a city and a community, and those are necessary components in order for that growth to happen. So that's very exciting on your end, and obviously pro sports teams offer so much to the local community. So that's going to be great. To have the A's there, and then a professional soccer team would do so well, I think, in Sacramento too. What's going to be interesting is when Aaron Judge comes to that minor league stadium, and he's going to hit nothing but homers there.
You would think. I mean, you see the dimensions, and it's still pretty close, but it looks a lot smaller. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Those fences look like they're a lot closer than they are, but yeah, I think you're right. He's going to be jacking those things in the parking lot like nothing.
Yeah. And then I wanted to tell you one more thing too. So the Troy Lions, Matt Patricia is my cousin through marriage.
No
Um,
kidding.
yeah, yeah. So my actually, I'm gonna be seeing those cousins in a couple weeks. My one of my cousins just had a daughter, so we're going up there. He might be there for all I know.
No
But
kidding.
yeah, so I know he's not well liked in Detroit, but
He is not. No.
yeah, but yeah, he's a good guy. I know him, and it's funny to know him as I know him, and then to see how he's portrayed in the media. It's unfortunate, but you know what? He's got about 25 million in the bank, so you know,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, are you going to be in Scottsdale this year?
I don't know for sure. I don't know that we've picked who's going to be representing Chipman just yet. But sure would like to be there, but whoever's there from Chipman will be representing us well, I'm sure. So, but
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, Clearwater was the best networking event I've ever been to in my entire career. And I say that sincerely because everybody in that room has business. Everybody in that room seemed busy. You know, what I mean by that is at every break, they're on their computer, they're on their phone, they're you know, everybody seemed to have very active, strong businesses. And everybody there was open and willing to talk and follow up after the meeting. It was just not end Clearwater. The relationships start after Clearwater. And like I said, I've had 10 or so Google meetings, several phone calls. We've exchanged a fair amount of business. And so it was an extremely successful event for me. But it just, you know, solidified my partnership selling mantra that I set out in the beginning of the year and how important it is to have these connections. And, I've been part of a van line my entire career. So I understand the agent network. I understand the importance of agent partnerships. But this is quite different because these are specialty groups that can get things done that, there's a difference between a real installer and, the old saying in our industry, difference between a real installer and a mover with a screw gun. There's a difference. Somebody can read elevations and read drawings and understand. So it just opens up so much more for my team and myself to grow our business.
Yeah, and I attest to that as well. Going to those OMA conferences and being in those rooms, listen, we have our good share of fun at those, but we're largely doing business there, and we're largely there to learn and collaborate and find ways that we can better service our clients, become more knowledgeable, implement that partnership selling. I always leave there with something new, and I've been going to them now for 4 years, and some of these guys have been going to them for 10 plus years, but credit to OMA, they continue to develop and innovate and understand what their members and partners are looking for and find ways to create the solutions that we need and work better together. And it's been incredibly valuable to me, and I agree. Those are all very exciting because not only are they beneficial from a professional growth standpoint, but we've all become very close over the years too. There's a lot of people in there who are close personal friends of mine, and it's just a massive benefit to my career and what we aim to do. So that's why I'm excited. We met, and see again. These meetings lead to this.
Yeah,
So,
certainly. Yeah.
Sure. I appreciate it, Ed. I thank you for coming on, and looking forward to continued growth and finding ways to sell in partnership together and do what we can for our clients.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate you doing a good thing with this podcast. You really run them well, very professional. And thank you for inviting me on. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, and thank you, and thank you everybody for listening.
Thanks.